on the chipsets, so the chip is the most basic building block. The chips get bundled together into what's called a module. A module is what you could buy if you wanted to make a device. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty sophisticated hardware designer to take chips and make your own modules. The things have to communicate. So they all have some sort of modem, either a cellular modem, a Bluetooth modem, a Wi-Fi modem, something. Another thing that's sort of tricky about these things is they have antennas. And the antennas are really sophisticated. I didn't realize how sophisticated, so I started going to the conferences, and the antenna companies would throw great parties. In the US, the bands that the devices communicate on is really screwed up in the US. And so the bands are all fragmented. And so in order for them to do a cell phone that could roam across all the different bands in the US, they need to support at least 5 different antennas. And in order to have 5 different antennas to make it work, you need enough physical real estate on the device so that the antennas don't have RF interference on the device. Which means that in the US, you can no longer have a small smartphone, because a small smartphone won't have enough physical real estate to enable enough bands to enable the phone to run. And so that's why all the phones are big. The advantage of a big phone is you can put a bigger battery in there and have a bigger screen. But you basically can't have a small phone anymore. The other thing that's sort of dicey about these things is the battery. Your phone goes about a day before it runs out, and all these devices, because they're embedded, they have a. If you can power it, it's easy. But a lot of times it's sort of sitting in places where you can't power the device, so it's battery powered. A basic battery that you get in your cell phone is good for maybe 300 to 400 cycles. And after 300 to 400 cycles, it loses its capability to store energy. So at that point, you might as well get a new one. So if you have a smartphone, try not to use up your 300 to 400 cycles, because when you're done with that, you have to get a new battery or a new phone. So what sort of irritated some of us on the Apple iPhone, they basically, in the US, it's sold on a 2-year contract, so it would be 600 days. But they have a battery in there that only lasts 400 cycles or 300 cycles, and you can't change the battery. So it's completely planned obsolescence. That before your contract is up, the phone quits charging, you're sort of forced to get a new one. It's probably good for Apple, but it's very irritating as a customer. You start to understand that that you bought something with a very limited life before it quits, and you can't fix it. The chipsets get put into modules. Modules get combined with modems, antennas, and batteries in the processor, and they call that a general purpose device, which is called an integrated platform, which would be a device that you can go buy for maybe $100 or $200 that would do something. In order to actually run that device on a network, you have to have it certified. And so to get certified in the US, it will cost about $50,000, and that gives you the right to have a device to run it on a wireless network in the US. The other thing you have is a gateway. A lot of use cases, you can't afford to put an expensive cellular modem or expensive processor in the device. So what you have to do is have little devices that will communicate with the gateway, batch up the traffic, and let one more expensive device communicate with the network. And so the gateways become important in most of the use cases. So the gateway idea is that you have, in order to drive the cost of the device down, because if you can have an application, in order for it to be cost effective, you probably can't put an expensive cellular modem in every device. So what you can do is you can have a gateway which will communicate with your devices, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, batch up the traffic, and have one device which will send it to our servers or someone else's servers over the internet, wirelessly, of course. I think for consumer applications, I think the smartphone is going to become the de facto gateway. So you can have a consumer device, Bluetooth communicating with your smartphone, then you ride the smartphone's data plan to communicate, let the device communicate to the internet. All right, what happens if you have devices in the wild? So imagine that you've got 100,000 devices sitting out just doing stuff. and that you're getting position reports and feeds from all these different devices. Most of the time, the devices are actually sleeping. They're either sleeping to conserve battery, or they're sleeping to conserve airtime. Airtime is expensive. I guess it's expensive here, it's expensive everywhere, and it's probably not going to get any cheaper. And so you really, it's a dear quantity, so you really don't want your device sort of sitting there mostly doing nothing. And that makes it hard, because if the device is turned off and it doesn't have a static IP, you actually have no way to communicate with it until it wakes up, which is a huge problem, because if something goes wrong, you've lost your device. Things go wrong all the time. Basically every customer uses dynamic IP because there are not enough static IPs for all these devices. And so dynamic IP, the device wakes up, it gets a new IP number, sort of sends a few messages, potentially polls for some new stuff, and then shuts down. But because it's dynamic IP, you have no way to contact the device. It makes it very hard. What the devices will do is you can program them so when they do wake up, you can have them poll for any new firmware updates. And the problem is if you put a bad configuration up to the device, you brick the customer's device, and all of a sudden you have a brick device somewhere that you don't know where it is, that you can't find with a very upset customer. So what makes this thing sort of hard? Well, one problem is that there's just a lot of devices out there. And so there's a scale problem. I would say not a scale problem like transaction processing, but a scale problem in that you actually want to have a lot of devices, but because you're paying for the airtime, you don't want the devices to report that often. So yeah, you want a lot, but they're not going to be the scale of some of the transaction processing systems. The device APIs are quirky. The tool chain is independent. It's just hard to make this stuff work. The devices are not always on. I'm used to the computing model that you're used to is things are always on. And in this model, stuff is mostly off. Another problem is that there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, the device, the carrier, the airtime, the device management, the script configuration, the cloud, Amazon, lots of things to go wrong. In order for it to work, everything has to go right. So it's hard. So in order to have a successful offer, 5 things have to come together. It's not like, hey, I'm going to put my application up on the Play Store, get the credit card, and just charge it. You have to have devices, and if you have to have devices, it means you have to have physical inventory. Somebody has to warehouse those devices, order them from the manufacturer, ship them to the customer for you. You can do that, but somebody's got to do that, do distribution. And at each device, somebody has to put the SIM card into the device, activate the SIM card, activate it on our platform. So having physical distribution is just a pain in the butt. It'd be so much easier without that, but it comes with this. You have to have a managed service cloud platform like we have, so we have number 2. You have to have airtime. You can buy this from the carrier, you can get it. You can't play without airtime. You have to have an operations center because when things go bad, somebody has to answer the phone. And then you need some sales strategy. So you basically have to use a channel model. So I'm a technology guy, so the realization that I had to switch to run a sales team, and not just run a sales team using an indirect channel model in order to be successful is like crazy hard. This is what has to come together to have a successful offer. You need the software platform, which we have. You need the device manufacturer. And you can either buy the devices, have them custom made, some use generic ones, but you got to get that. You need the carrier to get the airtime. Or you can buy the airtime from what's called an MVNO. An MVNO will buy wholesale airtime from the carriers and resell it to you at a market rate, but in smaller quantities. You need somebody to do operations, and you need somebody to sell it. And so in order to be successful, you have to figure out a way to get a checkbox in each of these columns in order to get somebody to write you a check. Otherwise, you should have all the pieces, but until it's sort of all bundled up, then the customer won't buy it.
I've noticed for the past few years there's been a growing open source hardware movement, and how has that affected you guys? Or has that made things any easier?
The problem is, on the use cases, the customers are cheap, Charlie. I mean, not the, but they don't want to pay for the devices, and so if you're charging too much for the device, it stops the sale from going through. And so that right now is a really big impediment, in applications to get the cost of the device down. So you can get it down by subsidizing it, sort of doing cheaper batteries. So the whole thing is, in order for it to be worth it, the prices have to go down. So in reality, the way it works is that if you want to do an end-to-end business, you need to get lucky. You need to find one big customer that's going to have enough business that they'll give you enough money that you can pay to have a custom device built. If you can get a custom device built, then you can have a really efficient business model, because a custom device, instead of having $200 per device, maybe you can knock it down to $40, by sort of doing a custom device. Once you get that custom device built for the first customer, then you've got a huge competitive advantage. You can sort of go and sell it to anyone who looks like them. No one can compete with you because they don't have a device. And so the guys that do really successful are sort of the guys who lucked into some really good application, whatever it was, that they built a custom device and then they go try to sweep up everyone else that looks like that. And so getting something that has the battery that sort of works with that use case, is sort of optimized, with just the right network, is once you got that, you're gold.